Welcome back, friends, to the shop. So I got to looking at that 2-inch timber framing chisel that my father-in-law Vince sent, and I am convinced that it is a special chisel, very, very nicely made. Let's take a look at it and see whether it's worthy or not for a restoration. Let's take a look at what we have here. So this is a beautifully made timber framing chisel, and what makes it kind of a rare bird is that it is indeed a 2-inch chisel. That's going to be one of the most desirable. The 1.5 inch and the 2 inches chisels are the ones that are so hard to find because they're commonly used in timber framing for chopping your mortises. You'll find a lot of the oddball or the in-between sizes, and those aren't really the ones you want. These are the ones you want right here. So I can see under there all the rust that there is indeed a manufacturer's name. If we try to grind on this or do anything abrasive at all, we'll lose that and never know what it is. Could it be a white? Could it be like a swan? You know, that would really be something to come across one of those in a 2-inch. So we'll remove this rust chemically so that we don't take away any of that metal. But today, we need to see about establishing or reestablishing this grind. And of course, harnessing the power of the electron microscope, we can see in here closely what we have. And this is, looks really good, doesn't it? It's the angle is right. Your timber framing chisels, you're gonna want them between 25 and 30 degrees. 30 for a hardwood, 25 for a soft, as a rule of thumb. Anywhere around there is usually pretty good. But even the back side we can see is very nice. It's very flat. It's got a little bit of rust and stuff on there. But the issue is you can see someone has abused it and pounded on it, probably on some nails or metal. And so that is actually broke back in there quite a ways. So what we're going to need to do, and I am not having the specialty like platter grinders and things to do this, I'm going to try to do it freehand on an emery belt sander deal. And we'll see what we come up with. But we need to back this back until we can get rid of all of those chips on that back side there, because we want this to be flat. I've set my angle gauge here at the desired 25 degrees, and we can see that we are indeed really, really close. We'll just kind of maintain what we have there. I've never tried to reestablish an edge on a chisel this big before, and so I was contemplating different ways of doing it, and I drew my angle there on, I thought maybe the bench grinder, if I could just kind of come in here and carefully introduce it slowly, you know, keeping it cool with water nearby and maintain that. But these are so crude and so coarse, I thought let's see if we can freehand it with a belt sander. A belt sander is a handy tool to have. I take them and just clamp them in the vise upside down, lock the trigger on, and then you have a grinding surface for so many things. You can clean up screwdrivers. I just touched up these cold chisels here, just real quick and easy. It holds it securely and gives you the ability to use it for cleaning stuff up. So what I'm gonna hope to do very slowly and carefully is kind of match this angle right here and work this by hand very slowly and try to bring that back freehand. Let's take a look at what we came up with here. I was very careful and I took my time, didn't get in any hurry, didn't put any heat in it, and I've got about as good of a utility edge as I could expect to get freehand. Now all this is going to have to be stoned back in, or diamond stones back to that super high-end, super fine finish, but this will definitely give us a baseline and get us started. I got that backed up, that reveal backed up there, and until I got into some better material. Now, being this is a little bit rusted and a little bit pitted, you're only going to be able to get so good with that. But when we're done, I think it should be super sharp. Let us see about this handle now. This is so exciting. It's like archaeology, tool archaeology here to see. I can't wait to see who the manufacturer is. Who knows, we might find out if it might be stamped Mexico on it. The question is, if it is stamped Mexico, how far are we willing to continue with it? I'm hoping with a little luck we can get this. Oh yeah, that was a good fit right there. This is kind of fun. It's like tool archaeology. So here we have the ring on the top. Now the ring, of course, would have been put there. This is a striking tool to prevent the wood from splitting out. And it looks to me to be, that looks like it's handmade. Being the fact that it's fatter over, is it fatter over there? Maybe not. Maybe, oh, it's probably just been smashed. Yeah, I'll bet that's what it is. I can see now. It's been smashed down and just mushroomed out there. Probably was the original ring, because you can see it's got a little taper on there. I'll bet it was. So the question is, do we restore this ring and put it back on? We can definitely do that. I think we should. I think it's in good enough shape. I think we should keep them together, and we'll do that. So the original handle, of course, looks like it was probably hickory and way too short for this particular chisel. Maybe it was original. Who knows? It's getting towards the end of the day, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put both of these pieces, the ring and the chisel, inside the evapo-rest. Well, I have to pull that out there. And let those sit overnight. When we pull these out, that's going to reveal, I bet we'll be able to read that, either that touch mark or the brand on there, and find out what we have. We might have something really special. So will that go all the way? Yeah, that'll go all the way in there now. We'll put the ring in there, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back, everyone. So fast forward about 18 hours or so, and we get to see what indeed happened to yield chisel. Look at that. Oh, there's nothing better than evapor-rust for removing that rust. There's some stubborn stuff on though there. Look at that. There's even some heavy, thick rust, but for the most part, it came out beautifully. Now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Can we identify who built this and where? Now I'm going to use I got a little brass brush here. Brass, of course, is softer than the steel, so we don't have to worry about it removing anything. Let's see what we got here. Can we read that? So it looks like P, S, and W. Guess what that is? Peck, Stowe, and Wilcox. I believe this was made in Connecticut, a #1 EX. And you know what's even more interesting? I was completely wrong about this tool, what it is. I don't think it's a chisel at all. I think it's a timber framing slick. If this is indeed a timber framing slick in a 2-inch, it's a rare bird for sure. And I didn't even know, I've never even seen one. I've never seen a slick built any smaller than 2-inch. And that makes it really special indeed. And so I got to looking at it, I was looking at it here off camera. There's a couple things going on that makes me think it's not a chisel at all, and it's the shape of it. Do you see that gentle rocker that it has, bringing the handle up? The reason for that is that this is not a striking tool, and this is going to completely change what we were going to do with it. No longer is it going to be a chisel, but we're going to make it into a slick that it was designed to be. What's so fascinating, look at this. This is of the highest quality. This is like the one that is that in focus there? The one that my big one, I'll show you when we go in the wood shop. There's 2 layers of steel sandwiched here. Do you see the top and the bottom? If we look on the side right there, that has been forged into there. See that dark mark there? That's a high carbon, super hard steel that forms the lead edge or the cutting edge. And you can see where it's been forge welded into the softer steel. Now this is very brittle. It's very hard. It holds a wonderful edge, but it's not super durable because of its hardness. What they would do is that they would essentially, would you call it, not anneal it, but they would basically forge weld it to a softer piece of steel that gave you that flex and durability. And only on the very, very best tools do they do this. I don't even know, there isn't hardly anyone doing this anymore, maybe a couple of small blacksmiths and such, but this is definitely a treasure indeed. Look at that. That is beautiful. This is was probably made in Connecticut around, maybe 100 years ago or so, maybe even a little bit more. And it indeed does have the timber framing pedigree coming from Connecticut, doesn't it? That is really a cool surprise. Look at that, some heavy rust. It's got its claws dug deep. Look at how, if I scrape that black off there, we can see the rust colored. This might be too much. It's not, we don't want to put a file on that, right? Because that's going to be just way too coarse. And I don't know that steel wool is going to be, is that going to be adequate? Putting a lot of pressure on there. I don't think that's going to do it. Here's what we're going to do. This is a Scotch Brite pad. This is basically the same stuff that you have on your kitchen sponge. It's just got a harder backing on it. And it doesn't take a lot of metal off, if any, if you're careful. And I'll use it on a roll lock here. And if we very carefully see what we can do here. Let me show you why I don't think this is a timber framing chisel, and that it is a slick, indeed. So here is the gold standard. Look at that, a 3.5 inch white. Yeah, you're not going to come across those very often. I was lucky, very lucky to find it myself. So you can see there's going to be some similarities. You see that there's that forge mark right there, or that delineation between the softer steel and that high carbon steel. We can really see it on this one because it has such a nice edge on it. Focus there. Yeah. Do you see it? I think we're focused. Do you see it right there? That line going across there, where we have the hard and the soft, right? That's a properly made chisel. Of course, we have the same thing here going on this one. We see the line. I got a little carried away there, my belt sander, didn't I? Man, that's the problem with power tools, is they do speed things along, but they also speed mistakes along. But that will come out over the years. Here we can see the forge mark. This one runs much deeper, meaning that this is called the stock. There's a lot of stock in there. That means you can sharpen that all the way back to there on that end. So that would last a long time. And you'll see some framers will have little short chisels that have been around for so long that they've been sharpened all the way back towards the end of the stock. But there's a lot, lifetimes in there. This one here is kind of interesting. It's quite a bit less. So now we're tasked with putting the final edge on this, and this needs to be, well, sharp, beyond sharp. So here's what I came up with. Let me open this up here for a little bit. So the only way that I can't freehand this, I don't have the ability to do it. I've never been successful at it. So what I have done in the past with axes and things, reestablishing, is use the Russian knife sharpener in sitting in the well of the carpenter's bench. And then I set this with my angle, my block deal, to exactly 25 degrees. Now I have a series of stones. I have starting with 150 grit, and then we'll be going all the way up to 1000 grit here on this edge. But what this allows me to do is have some consistency. So I've slid this all the way forward, and I've slid the chisel or the slick all the way against it, so I can have a reference point, and now we can start honing that and see what we got. I actually worked on this a little bit before I turned the camera on, but let's see check our work. So we'll put a little blue layout fluid. This is a blue fluid that machinists use to paint onto metal, and when they're doing layout or design of things, so they can see things better. But it works really good to see what you're doing, what your angles are doing, and how your sharpening is. So of course, we're going to use Granddad's old power steering fluid. Was that how hypoid gear lubricant? That's the way it used to come back in the day there. And those bottles still last. Okay, so if we go across here, we'll see. Do you see right there? Now that's going to tell us where our highlights are. That's enough. We can see exactly where we're coming in contact, right? So we're looking pretty good here. What we want is that if I could have a 1/4 inch of clean material all the way across that bottom edge, I'd be pretty happy. When you're using your stones, of course, the best thing is kerosene, diesel. I'm just using number 2 diesel or dyed diesel? The kerosene is so expensive, I don't buy it anymore. So here's what it looks like after the 400 grit. We'll get the light. You can start to see that it's definitely starting to clean up there. Here's the edge after the 600. You can really start to see the polish in it. And what's really interesting is that delineation there between the soft and the high carbon steel, the way it's sandwiched. So let's finish up with the 1000 grit. And last, we'll finish up with the leather and some very fine compound. Well, that is it. We can take a look at the finished edge, but it is very sharp. Nearly a mirror, kind of like a foggy mirror finish on it. And it is it's a scary, as we say, scary sharp there. Isn't that beautiful? You can see that line between the two steels. Now, those of you with good eyes, you might notice that there are a couple what could look like maybe chips or flaws in that edge. It's just following the contour of the back of it. You'll see you can see it's pitted a little bit from the rust. And you're going to have that no matter what you do. But it's of no consequence. It doesn't matter. It'll just work beautifully. But that turned out really nice. Some of this could be nicer for that to have been ground a little bit or a little bit more even. It was kind of like that. I didn't take material off of this right here. I just tried to true it up because it wasn't a 90 degrees across here. It was kind of a little bit crooked. But that will come out eventually, as probably not in my lifetime. As I sharpen it, that of course that will back until it's a little bit cleaner. But isn't that pretty? Boy, and that is sharp. Let me give you a little sharpness demonstration here. Just to give you an idea of how much work you can do with a sharp, heavy chisel like this. This is without a handle, but if you wanted to knock a couple 45s, 45s in something, and it just gives you an idea of how effective these tools could be. If you wanted to do a round over, just that quick. I'm afraid that's about all the time we have for today. Tomorrow, we'll head back to the shop and we'll build a beautiful handle for this. I'm thinking like a 16 or maybe 17 and a half inches. I'll have to dream on that tonight that you're not going to want to miss. We're going to do a really special one here. But special thanks out to my father-in-law, Vincent, who is the original Antiques Roadshow picker, or a real one, for picking this up. You have a very good eye for nice things, and this is definitely one of those nice things. I really treasure it. So thank you for that. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video.
I guess I got a taste for poison. I've given up on ever being